Lucy Cannon started today as the engineers were waiting to meet the man with the blue bar. The old woman greets him and says she is ready to meet Plutarch. She briefly mentioned the art of the car and asked to call it Derry. I have no idea. The woman explains that her grandfather solved the Plutarch puzzle years ago, but it still doesn't work. She let Plutarch explain everything and decided to leave the engineer alone. The animation goes to 1852. Red Zephaniah Man's will. Elizabeth, Zephaniah's servant, has another treasure. Saxton Gale's grandfather, Barnabas, owned a deer business. In one instance, eventually Plutarch and Redmond created a confederation in the form of an equal division of the land remaining in the Sophia area. That's because Plutarch and Redmond haven't discussed anything during their careers, and there's a lot to discuss. This comic dates back 40 years before 1890 when Lady Gunn met Plutarch the Elder. Plutarch explains that he and his brother just hired a group of soldiers to conquer each other's lands and have been missing for 40 years. He decided to own the land, but Redmond is not dead. Plutarch explains that he wanted Redigan to do something to prolong his life and save his brother. Redigan paused before acquiescing. Hong Kang returned home that night when Red Jen opened the hardware and weapons store. An unknown woman was waiting inside. The woman interrupted Rodigan, saying that he was the manager and that he would be there unless someone asked where he was. She knew that Regden wanted to create a device that would extend Plutarch's life and asked if it was possible to do so. Redigan refused. While he waited, she offered him another option. She gave Lady Gunn a gold coin. As a wild country, a woman explains why Australia is 40 years ahead of the rest of the world in terms of technology. The Australian element is found in small deposits in Australia. Over the past 10 years, she has collected 100 pounds of stuff and donated it all to Redmond to buy Redmond's new life engine. The comic then flashes back to Plutarch's meeting with the engineer. According to Plutarch, Redmond has also created a survival machine that you won't believe was built by Redmond himself. He gets angry and explains that the car is broken and he needs a mechanic to fix it. The mechanic explained that he was happy to be called to fix it, but he didn't know how the device worked or how it could damage Plutarch. Plutarch asked him if he had a photo of his grandfather, and the engineer said he could restore it, but the photo was buried with his grandfather. Plutarch then tossed the photo onto the table, saying he'd spent 60 years and a small fortune searching for it to no avail. He then explains that the engine can use them too, but he stops midway. The shape revives Plutarch. Take Technic as an example. He dies every day doing nothing. Stop the car. Later, in the mechanic's office, looking at my grandfather's photo and notes, Plutarch's voice told me that the mechanic had borrowed the photo and explained about the car and how to fix it. He explained that if the engineer needed anything else, he should give it to him, not give it to him directly. Saxton Gale flew and massacred former General Charles Darling. Darling took the unfortunate animals as prizes and kept them in captivity. Darling pulls Hale to the side of the plane, and the next few pages are filled with war as they discuss a new way to buy donkeys. Hale's attempt to bring the evil eagle back to Earth fails safely when its weight crushes the eagle, sending them both into the Hall of Light. Man Company Bidwell explained, not satisfied with the selection of products, now customers are starting to make their products. This enrages Gale, who kills all the customers before Bidwell can stop her. Bidwell is licensed through the Man Company at its discretion, and the manufacturer receives a share of the profits. Hale, initially intrigued by the idea, is drawn to his grandmother's scent and jumps out of a window to escape the protesters gathered in the Man Company parking lot. Bobbinomicon begins with the Red Soldiers dressed as robots and revolves around three children dressed as the Ghost Zephaniah Man, Francis, and Saxton Hale at the Red Base. The NIS reported that the mercenaries had discussed a youth meeting and agreed that the door would not be opened for cookie delivery. But the soldier hadn't eaten for 4 days and the soldiers were unemployed. The cops I'm doing. At first he objected to feeding the children, but eventually agreed, giving the boy disguised as Zephaniah Man a pack of cigarettes and a knife. The scout demonstrates his fighting skills by showing a boy dressed as Stuart Francis holding his trusty staff. The challenge is to surprise the boy dressed as Saxton Hale and give him candy until he stands up. He apologized to her and gave her $7,000. When the children go to the Red Devil, they are told that they have run out of candy, but they tell them the ghost story and talk to themselves. When the two-eyed demo man was 7 years old, his mother encouraged him to work as a necromancer with monsters. A talented young man discovers a dark and mysterious temple in need of workers. The witch Merasmus opens the door and she gets angry thinking the boy is asking for canned. However, he warns children not to read a special book called the Bombinomicon. Warned by her, Merasmus leaves and the demo man goes to work. After cleaning the entire library, the demo man praises his work again and Tom calls him out. The Bombinomicon convinces the demo man to read the book and asks why he is following the old ways. Demo man suddenly looked up and saw a blue light in his left eye and a Bombinomish glaring at him. Just as he began to enjoy the glow in his eyes, an angry Merasmus suddenly appeared. The witch cast a spell on the crying child. When the monster awakens, May disappears along with the temple book and the monster's eye. Soldiers today recognize the name Merasmus and complain about not washing dishes. The witch is at a red Halloween party and the soldier and the witch immediately get into an argument. Merasmus complains about the vegan food, and after much argument, the soldier stabs the cow to death. In revenge for this, Merasmus creates the monster's missing eye, the monocle, and declares that he will return to his apartment while the Red Army fights the giant monster. However, Heavy and Scout begin fighting Monocle as soldiers pounce on Merasmus and choke him.